Eli tightened the straps of his exploration suit and took a deep breath. The hatch of the small landing craft opened with a hiss, revealing the bright, strange world of Solara 9. The sky was a soft lavender, streaked with pale gold clouds that shimmered like glass in the harsh sunlight. He had traveled across the stars to reach this planet, guided by maps that hinted at rare energy crystals hidden in its surface. But nothing could have prepared him for the sight that awaited him. The landscape was both beautiful and alien. Tall crystalline trees glimmered in the sunlight, casting fractured rainbows across the rocky ground. Rivers of liquid silver wound between the crystal forests, reflecting the bright light above. It was unlike any planet Eli had seen before. And yet, something about it felt strangely inviting, almost alive. He stepped off the landing craft and the soles of his boots sank slightly into the soft golden sand. The warmth of the sun felt pleasant against his skin. He lifted his visor slightly, letting the full light touch his face. Nothing happened. No burning sensation, no discomfort, nothing. Eli smiled. Humans were strong, adaptable, and his body had always been able to handle extremes. The sun here was bright, blinding to the unprepared. But to him it was simply warmth. That was when he noticed movement in the shadows of the crystal trees. Figures, delicate and ethereal, were peering at him with wide eyes. Their skin shimmered faintly in the shade, pale like moonlight, and their long hair fell around their shoulders in soft waves of silver and blue. They were humanoid, but their features were finer, sharper, and impossibly graceful. Eli waved. "Hello," he said, his voice calm and friendly. "I come in peace. I'm an explorer." The figures hesitated. Then cautiously, one of them stepped forward. She had eyes like polished sapphires, wide and curious. Her delicate hands clutched a flowing cloak that seemed to protect her from the sunlight. You are not harmed by the sun?" she asked, her voice like wind chimes. Eli blinked. "I'm fine. Is the sun dangerous here?" She nodded quickly, almost fearfully. "Very. Direct sunlight can burn our skin in minutes. We cannot touch it without protection." How are you standing there?" Eli chuckled softly. "I guess humans are just built differently. I can handle sunlight. No problem at all." The girl's eyes widened even further. She whispered something to the others, and the group of elf-like beings murmured among themselves. Their expressions were a mix of awe, fear, and disbelief. One of them, a girl with hair like spun silver, took a hesitant step closer, shielding her eyes with a hand. This is impossible," she whispered. They cannot survive like this." Eli crouched slightly to seem less intimidating. "It's okay," he said. "I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just want to explore, maybe learn from each other." The girls exchanged glances. After a moment, the first girl spoke again. I am Lyra," she said. "These are my friends. We do not know if it is safe for you here, even if the sun does not harm you. Our elders, they must see this." "Eli," he replied, "I think we can start slow. Maybe you can show me your city? I promise to be careful." The group hesitated, but curiosity overcame fear. Slowly, Lyra nodded. We will guide you, but stay close. The light is not gentle for us. You may not understand how fragile we are." As they led him through the shimmering forest, Eli noticed the careful ways they moved. Every step was deliberate, keeping in shadows whenever possible. Their homes were built within massive crystals, shaded naturally by the structures themselves. Windows were covered with thin, translucent screens that filtered the light into a soft glow. Bridges and walkways were made of delicate crystal threads that glowed faintly, powered by some unknown energy. "Why do you live like this?" Eli asked. "It seems uncomfortable." Lyra hesitated, glancing at the sunlit forest behind him. "The sunlight, it can kill. Our people, we adapted to shade, to protection. We cherish light only from controlled sources. Outside, it is deadly." Eli nodded slowly. "That makes sense. On Earth we adapt too, but I guess your sun is stronger than ours." "It is not just the sun," Lyra replied. "It is the heat, the energy. It pierces through flesh. Even a moment too long and you would burn." She shivered slightly, though the air was not cold. They reached the edge of a small clearing where more figures had gathered. They stared at him silently. He could see their fear and fascination. Their disbelief mingled with cautious curiosity. One of the elders, a tall figure with hair like molten silver, stepped forward. "You claim immunity to the sun. the elder said, voice smooth but wary, yet you walk freely under it. How is this possible? I don't know, Eli admitted. It's just how humans are. I can handle heat, light, extremes. My body is strong, adaptable. That's all I can explain. The elder studied him carefully, eyes narrowing. This is remarkable, perhaps too remarkable. You may bring change to Solara 9, that is, not always welcome. I don't want to change anything, Eli said quickly. I only wish to learn, and maybe help, if I can. The tension in the clearing did not disappear immediately. The elves murmured among themselves. Finally, Lyra stepped forward. He can walk in sunlight, it could be useful. We could learn from him. If the elders allow. The elder's gaze softened slightly. We shall see. For now he may stay under guidance. But caution is necessary. Eli smiled and nodded. I understand. The group led him through the shaded city, past towering crystal spires and luminous gardens to a small dwelling prepared for his arrival. The walls glowed faintly with filtered light and the air was cool, scented with faint minerals and flowers that only grew in shade. That will be your room, Lyra said, gesturing. It is safe and you can rest. You will need energy for tomorrow. There is much to show you. If the elders allow. Eli stepped inside, looking around. The furniture was delicate but functional, made from crystal and polished wood. There were cushions for sitting, low tables and storage spaces carved directly into the walls. It was simple, elegant and functional, a reflection of the elves themselves. Thank you, he said softly. It is beautiful. Lyra smiled faintly. We value balance, beauty, but also safety. Light can be deadly, yet it also gives life. We must respect it. As you do not fear it, we must learn from you, perhaps. Eli nodded, realizing that this was only the beginning. The elf girl's shock was only the first step in a long journey of discovery. Humans were adaptable, resilient, and strong, but the elves had knowledge, subtlety, and grace. Together, perhaps they could learn from each other, and maybe, just maybe, show each other what was truly possible. As the sun set over Solara 9, Eli stepped outside once more. The golden light reflected off the crystal towers, casting a dazzling pattern of colors across the city. He breathed deeply, feeling warmth on his skin, free from fear, free to explore. From the shadows, Lyra and the other girls watched, their eyes wide with amazement. A human had survived their sun, and not just survived, but thrived. They whispered among themselves, awe and wonder in their voices. What did this mean for their people? For their world? For the future? Eli smiled faintly to himself. Whatever came next, he was ready. The sun shone brightly, and he was alive to see it. And for the elf girls, the world had just become infinitely more fascinating. The next morning, Eli awoke to a soft light filtering through the crystal walls of his room. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of mineral flowers that only bloomed in shade. He stretched and stepped outside, careful not to disturb the delicate crystal pathways beneath his boots. The city was quiet, peaceful, and shimmering with filtered sunlight. Lyra and the other elf girls waited nearby, their long cloaks shielding them from even the slightest touch of sun. They watched him curiously, their eyes wide, a mixture of fascination and caution. Eli noticed the way they moved, carefully, deliberately, always staying in shadows. He smiled to himself. The girls were cautious, but their curiosity was stronger than their fear. Good morning, Eli said cheerfully. I hope you slept well, Lyra nodded. We sleep lightly, always aware of the sun's strength. You don't seem to rest easily. Even in the light? Yes, Eli replied. The sun doesn't harm me. It feels good, actually, warm and natural. He paused, realizing their disbelief. I know it must seem strange. It is strange, Lyra admitted. To see one walk freely under the sun. Without pain, it is astonishing, Eli chuckled. Well, I suppose that's part of being human. We're adaptable. We can handle extremes others cannot. The elf girls whispered among themselves, their voices soft and melodic. Eli didn't understand the words, but their expressions told the story. Amazement, curiosity, and a spark of envy. Come, Lyra said finally. We will show you the city carefully. Our elders must still approve many things, but we are curious. We want to see you to learn. They led him through narrow crystal streets, sunlight glinting off every surface. Eli noticed that the elves never fully left the shadows. Even when walking through an open courtyard, they moved carefully, huddled under floating shades or behind crystalline walls. He, on the other hand, strolled freely, feeling the warmth on his face and the gentle heat on his arms. "Do you never go outside?" Eli asked. "Even for work or travel?" Lyra shook her head. "Only in shade. Only when necessary. The sun, it can kill. Our elders warn us. The bright light burns, the heat penetrates. It takes life." Eli nodded slowly. "I see, that must make life difficult." "It is," Lyra admitted. "But we are used to it. Our architecture, our gardens, even our clothing, all are made to protect us. We cherish sunlight. Only from controlled sources, lamps, or reflections. We fear what cannot be controlled." Eli observed the city carefully. The elves' homes were carved from massive crystals, hollowed to create soft, shaded interiors. Bridges were made of thin crystal threads glowing faintly with energy collected from filtered sunlight. Small gardens grew under light that had passed through colored crystals, producing gentle hues instead of harsh illumination. The city was elegant, delicate, and unlike any human settlement he had seen. "You live beautifully," Eli said, admiring their work. "It's precise, thoughtful." Lyra smiled faintly. "We value balance. Beauty and safety. One without the other can lead to destruction. The sun is life, but also death. We must respect it. You do not fear it. That is remarkable," Eli shrugged. "We adapt. Humans can survive almost anything if we prepare, or sometimes even without preparation." As they walked, the girls began asking questions, tentative, cautious questions, but their curiosity was evident. How do you survive outside for so long?" one girl asked. "Does the sun hurt your skin?" another whispered. Eli explained simply, "Our bodies are strong. We have evolved to handle light and heat. I don't need protection like you do. My skin, my body, it can manage. That's just how humans are." The elf girls exchanged looks of disbelief. Their pale, delicate skin was so fragile that even a few minutes of sun exposure could cause severe burns. Yet here was a human walking freely, smiling, unaffected. Could all humans survive like this? Lyra asked carefully. "Yes," Eli said. "Most of us can. Some need more adaptation than others. But humans are naturally resilient. We survive extremes of heat, cold, and light. That's part of our strength," the girls murmured among themselves, a mix of awe and uncertainty in their voices. One of them, the youngest, with hair like spun silver, whispered, "If humans can survive in sunlight, they could do so many things we cannot. They could reach places we dare not." Eli noticed the concern hidden behind fascination. "Yes," he said gently, "we can do things that others cannot. But that doesn't mean we want to harm anyone. I come to learn, to share knowledge, and perhaps help." Lyra's eyes softened. You are unlike anyone we have met. Our people, we fear the outside the sun, but you walk through it freely. It is unsettling and inspiring." The girls led him to the edge of the city, where the crystal spires opened to a view of the surrounding landscape. The forest shimmered in sunlight, rivers of silver flowing between the glowing trees. Eli felt a thrill of excitement. This was unexplored territory filled with possibilities. "Why do you hide from the sun?" he asked. "It is beautiful, warm, full of energy." "It is dangerous," Lyra said softly. "To us, the sun is not life, it is pain and sometimes death. Even a small exposure can kill. We live in shadows in protection because it is the only way to survive." Eli studied her face. She spoke with honesty and caution. Her fear was real, but so was her curiosity. Humans were strong, yes, but perhaps stronger still was their willingness to face the unknown. He felt a quiet admiration for these elves, delicate and graceful, living in a world that demanded constant vigilance. "I think we could learn from each other," he said carefully. "You have knowledge, culture, grace, things humans often forget, and we have resilience, strength, and adaptability. Maybe together we could do things neither of us could alone." Lyra hesitated, considering his words. "Perhaps, but the elders, they may not agree. Many fear humans, fear what change might bring. We are taught caution. To survive is to respect limits. You ignore them." Eli smiled faintly. "Not ignore, just understand them differently. Humans see limits as challenges, not as walls. That's all." The girls whispered among themselves again. Eli noticed that their fear was slowly being replaced with curiosity. One of them, the silver-haired girl, glanced at him with wide eyes. If humans can survive the sun, if one walks freely among us, then perhaps we could see the world differently. Eli nodded. Exactly. We don't have to change who you are, but together, we can explore possibilities, learn new ways, make life better. Lyra's lips curved slightly. It is hard to imagine, but seeing you, surviving, thriving, under the sun, it makes me wonder, what else could humans do that we cannot? How do you manage it? Eli shrugged. It's simple, really. We are resilient, we adapt, we face challenges head-on, and sometimes we learn from the world around us. The girls exchanged a glance, silent understanding passing between them. They had been taught to fear the sun, to avoid it at all costs, and yet here was a human walking freely, untouched, and even enjoying it. Perhaps fear was not the only way. Perhaps curiosity could open new doors. As the day passed, Eli explored more of the shaded city under careful guidance. He touched solar panels that the elves feared, tested light-powered devices, and moved freely through sunlit areas that the elves could only watch from safe shadows. Everywhere he went, whispers followed him. Shock, awe, fascination. By evening, the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long, golden beams across the crystal city. Eli paused to look at the glowing towers, the shimmering rivers, and the delicate bridges stretching over the shaded gardens. For the elves, sunlight was deadly. For him, it was life. And yet, standing there, he realized something important. Resilience alone was not enough. Understanding, respect, and curiosity were just as vital. Lyra approached him, her eyes wide and thoughtful. You are different. Not just because you survived the sun, but because you face it willingly. It is inspiring. Eli smiled softly. Thank you. I hope we can learn from each other. You have so much knowledge, and I can offer strength. Together, maybe we can do things neither of us imagined. She nodded slowly. Perhaps, yes. Perhaps there is more to learn than fear. And you have shown us that. For the first time, the elf girls felt a flicker of hope. Humans were strange, strong, and fearless in ways they could barely understand. But perhaps in this strange new friendship, there was a future where curiosity could conquer fear, and where the sun might no longer be a threat, but a source of opportunity. Eli stood with them as the last rays of the sun painted the sky in deep shades of lavender and gold. He had arrived as a visitor, a stranger from another world. But already he was beginning to change something fundamental in the hearts of the elf girls. And for the elves, a new kind of wonder had begun, one that might, in time, change their world forever. The morning sun broke over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and lavender. Eli stretched as he stepped out of his room, feeling the warmth of Solara 9's sunlight on his skin. For him it was comforting. For the elf girls waiting nearby it was dangerous, yet their eyes followed him with a mixture of awe and worry. Lyra approached him, her long cloak fluttering in the gentle breeze. Are you ready? She asked. The elders have permitted a small field trip, but only if you stay careful, and only near the edge of the crystal forest. It is risky, Eli smiled. I understand. I'll be careful. I promise. The group set off, the elves moving cautiously through shaded paths while Eli walked freely in the sunlit patches, feeling the warmth energize him. He glanced at the forests and rivers stretching beyond the city. The world outside was wild, untamed, and full of danger, but to him it was full of opportunity. Their destination was a small valley where rare sunlight-powered energy crystals were rumored to grow. The elves had never ventured there themselves. The sunlight was far too strong, too deadly. But Eli could move safely through the glare, and the girls watched, tense and fascinated as he stepped confidently where they could not. Be careful, whispered one of the younger girls. Her voice trembled slightly, both from worry and awe. Even if you are human, the storm could come suddenly. It is unpredictable, Eli nodded. I'll watch the sky. Don't worry. As they walked, he explained how humans adapted to extremes. We have evolved to survive heat, cold, and strong light. We take precautions when necessary. But sometimes we face nature head-on. That's how we learn and grow. Lyra glanced at him thoughtfully. Your confidence? It is unlike anything we have seen. You do not fear the sun. Yet we fear it constantly. How can one survive with such boldness? Eli shrugged. Experience, adaptability, and understanding. You respect the sun for its power. I respect it too, but I know my limits. Humans are resilient. That's all. They reached the edge of the valley. Sunlight poured down, strong and bright. The crystals glimmered in the light, tiny prisms that sparkled like stars embedded in the rocks. Eli's eyes lit up with excitement. This is incredible, he said. These crystals, they store sunlight energy. You elves cannot reach them safely, can you? Lyra shook her head. No, even near them the sun is too strong. Our people, we are taught not to go beyond the shadows. Only madness or death lies in the open sun. Eli stepped forward without hesitation. The crystals reflected the sunlight in dazzling patterns, and he bent down to examine them closely. Look at this, he said, holding a small crystal between his fingers. It absorbs energy directly from sunlight. Humans could use this to power machines, light cities, maybe even help your people safely harness sunlight. The girls stared, their faces filled with astonishment. One whispered, "It glows, it lives. Yet it is not dangerous to him." Eli smiled. No, the sun is dangerous to you, yes, but not to me. We can do things others cannot. That is the advantage of resilience. Suddenly, a solar storm appeared on the horizon. Dark clouds streaked with white energy raced across the sky. Winds rose, carrying hot particles that could burn even from a distance. Lyra gasped, pulling her cloak tighter. We must return. It will be too dangerous. The storm. It will kill us. Eli glanced at the storm, then at the girls. Don't worry. I can handle it. We'll get back safely. Just follow my lead. The elves hesitated. Their instinct was to retreat immediately. But Eli stepped confidently into the open, walking toward the forest edge where shade was possible. The storm's light crackled around him, but he remained unharmed. Lyra whispered almost to herself, It is impossible. He walks in danger, yet nothing touches him. Eli reached the first shaded grove and waved to the girls. Hurry, this way. Stay close. One by one, the elves followed, keeping to shadows as best they could. Eli guided them carefully, using his knowledge of terrain and sunlight to find safe paths. Even the youngest, trembling and fearful, managed to follow him through the storm's edge without harm. Once they reached a fully shaded area, Lyra exhaled, her hands trembling slightly. You saved us. You faced the storm willingly. No one in our history could do this. Eli smiled softly. I didn't save you. I just walked safely and helped you find safety. Humans face danger differently. We adapt, we act, we protect those around us. That's how we survive. The girls looked at him with awe. Their disbelief was slowly transforming into respect. He was not only immune to the sun, but also courageous, thoughtful, and capable. You are unlike any being we know, Lyra said softly. We have lived in fear all our lives. You show strength in ways we cannot even imagine. Eli looked around at the valley. The crystals still glimmered untouched by the storm. He picked up a few small shards carefully. These crystals, they could help your people. Harnessed safely, they could give light without danger. Humans and elves together could learn so much, the girls whispered among themselves. Their curiosity outweighed their fear. One said, perhaps, if humans can survive the sun, we can. Try to understand more, learn more. Not just fear, Eli nodded. Exactly. Fear keeps you alive, yes, but curiosity brings progress. As the storm passed, the sky cleared. Sunlight poured over the valley, illuminating the crystals in dazzling patterns. Eli moved freely among them, picking samples carefully, examining shapes and colors. The elves stayed in shadowed spots, watching intently. You can touch it? Whispered Lyra, pointing at a crystal that glowed brightly in direct sunlight. Yes, Eli said, holding it up for them to see. Humans can, and maybe one day you can too. Carefully, safely, with understanding. The girls looked at each other, a mixture of excitement and apprehension in their eyes. For the first time, they realized that sunlight might not always be a threat. Perhaps it could be an opportunity. When they returned to the city, the elf elders were waiting. Their faces were stern, cautious, and wary of Eli's abilities. You walked in sunlight freely, the eldest said, voice firm. And survived how? Eli smiled politely. Humans are resilient. That is all. I respect your ways, but my biology is different. I can survive what you cannot. I only wish to help, not harm. The elders whispered among themselves, exchanging glances. One spoke finally. Perhaps there is value in your presence. You show courage, strength, and knowledge, but caution is necessary. We must consider the consequences of teaching our people what you can do. Lyra stepped forward. Elders, he has shown us that there is more than fear. There is possibility. Perhaps we can learn from him. Without abandoning our ways. The elders remained silent, thoughtful. Eli's presence was extraordinary. A human, immune to the deadly sun, had ventured safely into the dangerous valley, protected the young elves, and demonstrated ingenuity beyond their understanding. You are different, one elder said finally, looking at Eli. Perhaps your presence is not a threat, but a lesson. We will watch carefully. But your ways are extraordinary, Eli nodded. Thank you. I will respect your guidance and your rules. I am here to learn and to share if I can. That evening, Eli sat with Lyra and the girls in a quiet garden shaded by enormous crystal leaves. They were still in awe, whispering softly about what they had witnessed. You faced the storm, Lyra said, still amazed. No elf could do that. Not without protection. You are fearless. Eli shook his head. Not fearless, careful, brave when needed. Humans survive not because we are fearless, but because we understand limits and act wisely. Lyra smiled faintly. Even so, it is inspiring. Perhaps humans are stronger than we believed. Perhaps there is much we can learn. Eli looked at the sun setting over Solara 9, its golden light reflecting off the crystal towers. The world was full of danger, but also full of wonder. He realized that this was only the beginning of discovery, of learning, of building trust between two very different worlds, and for the elf girls, the human had already begun to change the way they saw their world. The sunlight, once feared above all, now carried a glimmer of possibility, a promise of what could be achieved when courage, curiosity, and resilience met. Eli smiled. Tomorrow they would venture further, and who knew? Perhaps the sun would no longer be only a danger, but a doorway to new knowledge and adventure. The morning air in Solara 9's crystal city was still, warm, and filled with the faint scent of mineral flowers that only bloomed in shade. Eli stepped outside his dwelling and stretched, feeling the familiar, comforting touch of sunlight on his skin. For him, the light was not harmful, it was life. For the elf girls, it was dangerous, yet their eyes followed him, wide with curiosity and wonder. Lyra approached him, her cloak flowing lightly behind her. The elders have agreed. Partially, she said softly. They will allow you to meet with the council. They are cautious but intrigued. Your presence, your abilities. They cannot ignore, Eli nodded. I understand. I will respect their rules. I only wish to help and share what I know. The girls led him through shaded walkways, past gardens filled with glowing crystal plants. Birds with translucent feathers chirped softly in shaded trees, never venturing into the sun. Everything in the city was designed for protection, elegance, and efficiency. And yet Eli noticed a subtle longing in the elves' eyes, their fascination with the sunlight he freely embraced. At the council hall, towering crystal pillars rose like frozen waterfalls, reflecting filtered sunlight into soft, glowing patterns. The elders, tall and ethereal, waited with solemn expressions. Their eyes, sharp and wary, followed every movement Eli made. You claim immunity to sunlight, said one elder, voice smooth but firm. And yet you walk freely, touch our crystals, survive storms. How Eli bowed respectfully. I do not wish to impress or frighten you. Humans are resilient. We can handle extremes of heat, light, and danger that others cannot. I only hope to use this ability to help and share knowledge, not to harm. An elder with long silver hair spoke next. Your abilities are extraordinary, yet your presence challenges our traditions. Many of us fear what change may bring. We cannot teach our people to ignore caution. Lyra stepped forward. Elders, we have watched him carefully. He walks in sunlight, yes, but with understanding and care. He is not reckless. He could teach us safely. There is value in learning from him. Another elder spoke, voice low and thoughtful. We have lived in shadows for generations. The sun has always been a threat. To consider walking freely in it is unthinkable, yet the human has survived and protected our young. Perhaps there is more to consider. Eli listened quietly, letting the discussion unfold. I respect your traditions, he said finally. I do not wish to force anyone into danger. But sunlight, knowledge, energy, resources can be used safely. Humans and elves together could achieve more than either alone. The council murmured among themselves, clearly torn between fear and curiosity. One elder finally said, "Very well. You may demonstrate how humans can safely harness sunlight, but only under controlled conditions with the supervision of our young and your guidance." Eli nodded, smiling. "Thank you. I promise to show only what is safe and helpful." Lyra and the other girls led him to a small courtyard where sunlight streamed through filtered crystal panels. Here, sunlight could be concentrated without being directly harmful. Eli carefully placed a few of the rare energy crystals he had collected, adjusting their positions to capture the sun's rays. The crystals began to glow, humming faintly with stored energy. "This is incredible," Lyra whispered. "It is sunlight, yet not dangerous," Eli nodded. "Exactly. With proper understanding, energy from sunlight can be used safely. Humans use this on our planets. It can power machines, light cities, and even help life flourish." The girls watched as Eli demonstrated simple machines powered by sunlight. Small crystal devices lit up, tiny fans spun in the warm air, and glowing pathways illuminated previously shaded areas. Even the most skeptical young elves began to whisper among themselves, their fear slowly turning to excitement. You can do all this?" Lyra asked, eyes wide. "All with sunlight?" "Yes," Eli replied. "We humans adapt, experiment, and find ways to survive and thrive. You have knowledge, beauty, and grace. We have strength, resilience, and creativity. Together, we can make things better." The demonstration lasted hours, with Eli explaining each step, showing how sunlight could be harnessed safely, and answering the girls' endless questions. They asked about machines, energy storage, and even how humans survive storms and extremes of heat. Eli answered simply, clearly, and with patience, showing not only his abilities but also his wisdom and care. By evening, the council gathered again. This time their expressions were less wary. They had seen the potential, how sunlight could be a tool rather than a threat, how humans could complement their society rather than endanger it. "You have shown caution and knowledge," said the eldest, "and you have protected our young while demonstrating your strength. Perhaps humans are not only resilient but capable of understanding. There is value in learning from you." Lyra stepped forward, smiling faintly. "Elders, and we have always feared sunlight. But he shows that with care, with understanding, it need not be deadly. Perhaps humans can teach us, guide us. Safely." Another elder nodded slowly. "Yes, if done carefully, this could change our society. We must be cautious. But perhaps it is time to see beyond fear, to learn what we never dared to consider." Eli bowed respectfully. "I am honored. I will continue to act carefully, to teach only what is safe and to respect your ways. Together we can learn from each other." After the council meeting, Lyra and the girls walked with Eli through shaded gardens. They were quieter than usual, thoughtful and reflective. You are changing how we see the world," Lyra said softly. "The sun, once feared, now feels different. Perhaps not only danger but possibility." Eli smiled. "The world is full of challenges. Humans survive by understanding them, not by fearing them. Curiosity and courage go hand in hand. You can embrace both carefully and learn more than you ever imagined." The girls nodded. Even the youngest, still trembling slightly from the storm in the valley, looked at him with awe. "Perhaps we have limited ourselves too much. Perhaps the sun and the world hold more than fear and shadow." Eli glanced around at the city, its crystal towers glowing faintly in filtered sunlight. "Your people are strong. Your culture is beautiful. You survived here for generations, but even the strongest can learn new ways, find new opportunities. Humans and elves together, we could achieve remarkable things." Lyra smiled faintly. "You make it sound possible. Not reckless, not dangerous, just possible?" "Yes," Eli said. "And possibility is where progress begins, where discovery, growth, and understanding start." That evening, Eli sat with the girls on a shaded balcony overlooking the city. The sky was painted in deep golds and purples as the sun set. Light reflected off the crystal towers, casting colorful patterns across the gardens below. "You have given us hope," Lyra said softly. "Hope that we can see beyond fear. That sunlight may not be our enemy." Eli nodded. "It is always tempting to fear what we do not understand. But with knowledge, courage, and care, fear can turn into opportunity." The girls watched him, still amazed, still processing. Humans were strange, yes, but their strength, resilience, and understanding were undeniable. Eli had survived where no elf could, taught without arrogance and inspired without force. You make us wonder, whispered Lyra. What else humans can do, what else they can teach us, perhaps. Even change us, Eli smiled. Change is not bad. Learning is not bad. It is only in progress, and progress is possible for everyone who dares to try. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Eli stood and looked out over the city. The journey had only begun. The elf girls had seen the first glimpse of human resilience and ingenuity. They had seen sunlight not as a deadly force but as a tool, and slowly a bridge of understanding was forming between two very different species. For Eli, the challenge was simple: teach, guide, and protect, while showing the elves what humans were truly capable of. For the elf girls, the lesson was profound. Courage and curiosity could open doors once thought forever closed, and the sun, once feared above all, might now hold the promise of new possibilities. In that quiet, golden evening, the bond between human and elves grew stronger, and the first seeds of an alliance were planted, one that might one day change Solara 9 forever. The first rays of sunlight fell over Solara 9's crystal city, spilling gold across the towers and gardens. Eli stood on the edge of a balcony, feeling the warmth on his skin, his eyes reflecting the glimmering city below. Today was different. The elders had finally agreed to a controlled sunlight festival, an experiment to see if the elves could safely experience sunlight under his guidance. Lyra and the other girls approached him cautiously, their cloaks shielding them from direct rays. Their eyes, usually wide with caution, now shone with anticipation and curiosity. "Are you sure this is safe?" Lyra asked softly. "Yes," Eli replied confidently. "I'll show you how to enjoy sunlight without danger. It will take care, attention, and patience, but you can do it." The girls exchanged nervous glances. Fear had always been their guide, but today curiosity and courage were stronger. With careful instructions, Eli led them into the first sunlit courtyard. The crystals filtered some of the light, creating soft beams that danced across the floors. "Step slowly," he instructed. "Feel the warmth, but trust your senses. If it feels too strong, step back into shade. Don't rush." The girls nodded, trembling slightly as they stepped forward one by one. Their delicate skin shimmered in filtered light, untouched but still cautious. Eli smiled as he watched them move, guiding them gently, answering questions and pointing out safe paths through the sunlit areas. This is amazing," whispered Lyra. "The sunlight. It does not burn. It is warm, gentle. Alive." "Yes," Eli said. "It is life. We humans can survive it freely. You can, too, if you understand it and respect it." As the day progressed, the courtyard filled with more elves, all observing carefully. Some ventured small steps into the filtered sunlight, while others stayed in shade, learning from the brave ones. Eli demonstrated how to harness sunlight safely, using small crystals and devices that stored energy and created soft, controlled light. "Look," he said, holding a crystal up to the sun. "This can store energy for your city. You can light your homes safely, run machines, and explore areas that were once dangerous." The elders watched silently, their expressions thoughtful. They had feared humans, feared the sunlight, and feared change. But Eli's careful guidance, his patience, and his courage showed them another possibility. Humans were not reckless. They were intelligent, resilient, and capable of inspiring trust. One elder finally spoke, his voice calm. "You have shown caution, respect, and knowledge. You teach without forcing, guide without commanding. Perhaps humans are indeed capable of understanding what we could not risk ourselves." Lyra stepped closer to Eli, eyes wide and shining. You have changed how we see the world. The sun, once feared above all, now feels welcoming. Perhaps there is more we can do than survive in shadows." Eli nodded. "Fear keeps you safe, yes. But courage, understanding, and knowledge, they give you freedom. Freedom to explore, to create, to grow. You can enjoy sunlight. You can harness it. You can thrive," the elf girls whispered among themselves, their excitement barely contained. Slowly, more elves began to step into sunlight under Eli's supervision, guided by their curiosity and the trust he had earned. Golden light filled the courtyard, reflecting off crystal walls in dazzling patterns. Laughter and whispered amazement echoed softly. "You see," Eli said, "the sun is not your enemy. You respect it and it respects you. That is the difference. By midday, the festival was in full swing. Sunlight-powered devices glowed gently, providing safe energy to the city. Crystals captured sunlight and stored it, illuminating shaded gardens and walkways. The city felt alive, vibrant, and full of possibility. Lyra watched in awe as young elves danced through filtered sunlight, their movements cautious but joyful. I never imagined this could happen, she said softly. Our city, our lives, could change. Yes, Eli said. Change can be good. It does not mean forgetting your ways. It means adding new possibilities. You retain your beauty, your grace, your traditions, but now you also embrace opportunity. The elders gathered around Eli, their faces softened. You have shown us a new way, one said. A way to respect the sun without fear. A way to expand our knowledge safely. Perhaps humans and elves can work together, share knowledge, and explore further than either could alone. Eli smiled. That is exactly what I hope. Together we can achieve more. Humans bring resilience and adaptability. You bring wisdom, beauty, and understanding. Together, we can create something extraordinary. As the festival continued, the elf girls explored new experiences, stepping further into sunlight, learning to adjust their movements and focus, using devices Eli had set up to ensure safety. They laughed, whispered excitedly, and marveled at the energy stored in crystals that could power their city without danger. Lyra approached Eli again. You have changed more than the city, she said softly. You have changed us, our fear, our hesitation. It is no longer the only way to live. Perhaps humans are more than visitors. Perhaps they are teachers, friends, even guides. Eli placed a hand gently on hers, smiling. We are all learners, Lyra. I learn from you just as you learn from me. Strength and knowledge grow when shared. That is what makes humans human. The sun climbed higher, golden beams reflecting off crystal towers illuminating every corner of the city. Even those elves who had never dared to leave shade began to experiment, stepping carefully into filtered sunlight, guided by Eli's instructions and the example of their peers. By evening, the city had transformed. Sunlight filled spaces once hidden in shadow. Energy crystals glowed, providing gentle light. Devices hummed quietly, powered safely by the sun. The city felt alive, vibrant, and full of possibility. The elders gathered to speak once more. Today, we have witnessed something extraordinary, one said. Humans are strong, wise, and capable of teaching us lessons we never thought possible. The sun, once feared, now brings hope. You have proven courage, patience, and knowledge can conquer fear. Lyra turned to Eli, eyes shining with gratitude and awe. Thank you, she said softly, for showing us, for teaching us, for helping us see the sun not as an enemy but as a friend. Eli smiled gently. The sun is only dangerous if you fear it blindly. Knowledge and courage turn danger into opportunity. You have learned that today. You have embraced what many thought impossible. That is true strength. As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant golds and purples, the elf girls and elders looked at Eli with new respect. He was no longer just a visitor or a stranger. He was a teacher, a guide, and a symbol of human resilience. Lyra whispered to the younger girls, We feared the sun, but now it is beautiful, and humans can show us what is possible. Eli watched the city sparkle in the last light, feeling a quiet satisfaction. The journey had begun months ago, with a single landing and the shock of a human immune to sunlight. Now the city was changing, hearts and minds opening to possibility. The elves had learned courage and curiosity. He had shared strength and knowledge. Together they had created something remarkable. As night fell, the first stars appeared in Solara 9's lavender sky. The city's crystal towers glowed softly, powered by sunlight captured and stored safely. The elf girls lingered, whispering excitedly about the day's events, imagining new discoveries and adventures yet to come. Eli stood with Lyra on the balcony, looking out over the city. This is only the beginning, he said. There are more places to explore, more knowledge to share, more opportunities to grow. Together, humans and elves can face the unknown and thrive. Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting the last glow of sunlight. Yes, and together, you have taught us to see beyond fear, to embrace courage, to imagine a world once thought impossible. Eli smiled. That is what humans do, and now you can too. The elf girls, once fearful of sunlight, had begun to embrace it step by cautious step. The city, once confined to shadows, now glimmered with new life and energy. And for Eli, the human who had come from a distant world, the reward was clear: the knowledge that courage, resilience, and understanding could change minds, hearts, and worlds. And so, on Solara 9, a new era began. Humans and elves working together, curiosity overcoming fear. The sunlight no longer a weapon, but a source of life, knowledge, and hope. The bond between species had grown strong, and the possibilities for the future were limitless. The human had shown them the truth. Strength was not just physical, but also courage, understanding, and the willingness to explore the unknown. And the elf girls, once cautious and fearful, now gazed at the sun with wonder, knowing that they could step into its warmth safely, guided by a friend who was as extraordinary as he was human. The world of Solara 9 had changed forever.